they said, hey, would you like to do a content exchange? Or I'm just trying
Uh,
to think of how would you
that
approach
comes
it?
out of a conversation first. I mean, I'm not gonna, it depends on who they are and whether they serve my niche and whether I can add value to them. I'm all about the win-win. I'm not even just about the win-win. I'm about the triple win. Win, win, win. It's got to be a win for you, got to be a win for me. Most importantly, it's got to be a win for your customers or your audience, because that's what's going to raise the bar for all of us. Right. So that's how I think of that. So if they have an audience that I can serve and that comes out in conversation, sure, I'll develop and further that conversation. But if they're, Joe Plumber from, I don't know, Boise, okay, nothing in common. I can't really help you unless in a client relationship potentially, but they're really not my niche. So it depends on, who they are. And it's not that I'm going to ignore them, but in small talk conversation, when you first meet someone, what's one of the first questions we always ask? What do you do? Where are you from? All the, little icebreaker questions, right? You find out really quickly whether you're on the same page or same level or not.
Oh, I like that. Well, and actually just from a, knowing what they do, you could go on the TNC website and see, here's the speakers there, here's the companies that are going to be there. And then I'd say if you want to go out and network with them, I would research the crap out of those companies and those individuals. And then you could walk up to, Ryan Dice and be like, hey, Ryan, I just saw you launched M3. Like, what's that all about? And then now he has a starting point, and you're obviously interested because you knew about both him and a subject, and then you're set. So like for me, I was planning on just walking around being like, hey, here's what you do. Great. If you could teach one course on that topic, what would it be? And that was going to be my launching question for, hey, we need courses.
And you know what my pitch is when I really resonate with someone and I want to develop that relationship further, because I think they'd be, good in my network and vice versa. Hey, I throw the best TNC after party. Imagine me walking around the floor on day 1 or day 2. Hey, I throw the best after party. It seems like we're hitting it off. Why don't you come? It's so diffusing. I'm adding value to the world in a fun way, right? That's an example, but you can do that with anything.
Oh yeah.
Even
well,
lead magnets.
Well, and just from a networking perspective, if anybody's like, what's a good talking point that you can come up with? Because I had to deal with this before I decided to not be introverted by getting into sales. But it was tough. It was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And if you actually have that lead in question or even a prop, like for me, I was thinking like, if I wasn't able to just talk to people, I got this, my costume for your party is actually one of those LED masks that you can actually change. And nice. I was like, oh, that's on theme for TNC. Like that would be really cool to, if you want to walk in and want a conversation starter, there you go. But it could be anything. We also have, and this is another exclusive for people who tune in, is this guy. So this guy is actually our new mascot for Digital Marketer. We were looking for, basically a PC way to animate different aspects of marketing. And we didn't want to have to, because we always try to incorporate diversity into all of our content, but you always constantly have to make new stuff because you have to fit all the categories of people. So with a robot, we could produce anything we want and it's all PC. So this is Gearhead. And then we're going to have digital marketers be called Gearheads is going to be the next thing. So we're going to announce all that next week. But
well, even in terms of props, like if you're walking around, maybe masking tape them on your shoulder or something, it becomes a conversation piece. You can time in with marketing bots. There's lots of
AI. Like there's a ton of ways you could go with it. So yeah, if you want, if you want something to start a conversation, I would recommend something like that, something interesting, because I would instantly ask about that, like what the heck is that? You're like, oh, let me tell you.
And we're marketers after all, so you want to stand out, grab attention, turn a glance into a stare.
Exactly. So let's talk about follow-up, because I think a lot of times people go to these big expos, they meet like 1,000 people, and then now I'm like, who did I talk to? Like, how do you follow up with all those people you connected with?
Yep. So first of all, I used to do business cards. I don't even do them anymore. Yeah. I mean, who does? Some people still do, believe it or not. But I usually, if I connect with someone, it's Facebook. We become Facebook friends right there. And then I'll DM them right in Facebook or through Messenger and saying, hey Dave, or hey, it's Dave, great meeting you at TNC. And then it's in our message thread. So I can go back to Messenger like a week later or whenever I get around to it after the event and see who I connected with and then follow up. And as I scan through my Messenger list of who I chatted with, certain names will pop out and become memorable. Oh, that guy was awesome. Oh, I really got to connect with her. Oh, they had a great connection over here, right? Some of them, they'll kind of, just diffuse away into the ether, still on Facebook friends, whatever, but it's those meaningful, memorable connections that you want to continue the conversation with.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I'd say, to go a step further, if you want to, because we're digital marketers, we're all supposed to be, on social media. If you do a selfie with people, like if you just get a picture of you with this other person, and then just make a quick note on the picture itself, like, this is Bob, he has a SaaS company or whatever it is, that would be the best, because I'm very, I'm trying to stop saying this, but I'm bad with names, or I have been bad with names in the past where I'm just like, oh crap.
I'm horrible with that. That's why
there's no way I'm gonna remember this.
For me, it's Facebook is my medium. I'm old school. I started on Facebook. Believe it or not, I was one of the first users of LinkedIn back in, I think, 2003. It's crazy, but
Wow.
I never use it. I'm because there's so many platforms and our attention is so scattered and drawn across. So I just focus on one platform. Facebook is my chosen one. I'm old school. I'm not a TikToker. Sorry, Snapchat. But and most of my avatar is on Facebook as well. So it works that way.
That makes sense. Well, and actually, just for the alternative to business cards, I actually downloaded an app. Let me see if I can find it. It was a hit. It was like every time I was like, oh, let me get your business card, and I would scan their what did I scan? Yeah, let me find the app real quick. Business card application. But it was a talking point, because people were like, oh, what app is that? And then I got to instantly be the target. Hi, hello. So it's called Hi, hello. If you guys want to use that, it's just a free app, and you can just put in all your details. And then what you do is have the person you're talking to scan it with their phone, just the camera, and then it brings up all your info on their phone. And it seems to be more reliable than trying to airdrop your data to somebody, because we're going to be surrounded with 5,000 people, and it's going to pick up like 1,000 phones. So I'd say if don't do business cards, nobody wants to carry around business cards. And, if you want to use Hi, hello, it was actually really popular and was good. It was actually a good networking device, and it collected all the info, so I didn't have to worry about doing anything right off the bat. And it had a picture, which was actually the coolest part.
Right. I'm just trying to find when I did. Yeah, if you do business cards, does anyone do business cards at all? I just looked up my old note. Ivan still does. Okay, let me do a quick screen share here. I just looked up my old bill. Well, still my current one. I just never used it anymore. But if you are going to use business cards, this is how you can do it really well. And I always got comments on this. Let me just do a quick screen share. Okay, this is just in a Word doc. But this is my business card here. You can see what they look like here, right? So because does anyone recognize this picture?
Oh yeah.
Right?
1,000 times.
Well, that is part of my brand. I put it right on my business card. So Ivan or anyone else who is using business cards, I'm trying to, where do I blow up this so you guys can see it a little bit?
Well, I love that, Dave, because it shows personality. Whereas a lot of times when typical headshots is like, oh, let me look proper, and there's nothing there for people to emotionally connect to.
Exactly. So, and because this is so memorable, I get so many comments, because I'm kind of boisterous and gregarious, fun loving, and that picture kind of exudes that side of my personality, and it's memorable. And it's my Facebook profile picture, and I use that on anytime I'm speaking on any event landing pages. I always use the same picture. It's part of my personal brand, right? So people it becomes instantly recognizable. They see it on when I hand out my business cards, and then they go stalk me on Facebook. There's that instant connection and memory factor to tune them in. Oh yeah, it's that guy, right?
Oh, I love that. Well, I'd say just recommendation for everybody: don't change your profile picture more than like 2 or 3 times a year is usually what I aim for. And it's probably longer than that.
Mine's been the same for years.
Yeah, so, and once you establish that,
these days, but whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, you could. Well, no, I like your beard, Dave. You might have to update that, because I'm like, oh, that's pretty
I know.
too.
Well, this is, believe it or not, that's how serious I take the costumes. This is going to become part of my costume.
Is it? Oh, you're not going Star Wars theme, are you?
You're gonna have to wait and see.
Ah, dang it. You have to argue with everybody about Star
What
Wars.
do you notice, back to the business card here? What do you notice about it? What sticks out to people? Just shout it out. Either unmute yourself or just in the chat. Sorry, and I'm just catching up on the chat now. Everyone's been really active there. Sorry, I missed that.
I always wonder, I'm like, are you guys actually listening, or are you all just chatting with
No,
Michelle
man,
and
that is
Bonnie talking trash?
So what I'm trying to point out here is there's a call to action built in. What is it? See over. There's not one person that I hand this to when I do this in person. Everyone looks at it and they instantly turn it over. Most people just use one side of the business card, which is only 50% of the real estate on the card. You got the full other side. Don't waste it. Everyone does that. And there's a lot of psychology built into here. So look at my logo, right? It's the globe. I tilted it so the arrow goes right to my website name. See how it's pointing right to it? Super subtle. It's dulled out, but everyone's eye is drawn to it. And then because we read left to right, this swooshing arrow comes down, you read here, and it goes right to the call to action. Everyone
I love that. Love that, Dave, but that is such a graphic design violation to flip your logo like that.
Oh, I know, but I'm a
Is that
marketer,
part
so
of
I
it?
don't
Was
care.
that part of the psychology? Because I was like,
Yeah,
oh
there's a lot of
God.
psychology here. But then see over, what's my MO? This is my tagline, right? We help $1 million businesses double their revenues in 12 months or less. Will you be next? Apply. Boom. That's the call to action.
I love it.
So it becomes my calling card, and yeah.
Well, I love it. Well, and you're just applying, digital marketing methods to the real world where you're like, hey, if you don't have a call to action, like, what the heck do you expect people to do?
Exactly. It's a CTA and an offline application of it. Anyway.
I love that. No, that's fantastic. The only thing I would say is I would want to see a bigger U on there would be the only thing, just so I could recognize you better, what I mean? But overall, no, that's perfect. So if you are going to do business cards, do them like Dave. If you're not going to do business cards, then check out Hi Hello. I think it's not perfect. Like it has some errors, but it was pretty consistent and it was a good talking point. So it makes you look very digital-y.
And I encourage you, if you use business cards, use your profile pic that you use on Facebook or your main social platform, put it on your business card so there's crossover there.
Yeah, and make it big photo. You can't really, it's really just trying to get that, because I remember a conversation that I had with TNC last year where I was like, man, that was a great conversation. Like, this is a great contact. And then after the show, I was like, I know I talked to somebody and there's no way for me to follow up, because even though I had all the info, I was like, I don't know who this guy is. And then you have to look on LinkedIn and you have to do all these things. So I would say,
and back to follow up, Mark, when everyone was using business cards, like it wasn't that, long ago, maybe 6-8 years ago, when, they were still quite common. I would collect them at an event like TNC, and then I would store them in one single place in my backpack. So they were all there. And when I got home, I would go through them all and email everyone that I got connected with, or connect with them on the Facebooks or whatever. That's the old school way of doing it in terms of follow-up.
Now for follow-up, what was the message that you first sent to those people after the show, like the first, second contacts?
Great question, because every time I received a business card, most people didn't use the back of it. Like I said, there's white space in the back. So the front is, laminated, or that little glossy thing, flip it over, it's like flat mat. So I would write on the back, or any white space on their business card, the connection or what we chatted about. I would write little, crib notes to myself. So when I got home the next week, I did have that chance to follow up. I'd have those crib notes. Oh yeah, we talked about that. They were really cool. They're into this. I said, I promised to send them something more along the lines of value in advance. And usually that's what I was offering, is value in advance. Hey, great connection. Hey, I got this cool thing, cool course, cool lead magnet, whatever it is. I'll send it to you after the conference. And that's how I usually followed up, based on the notes I took on the card in a moment.
Nice. Now, were those potential clients, or were they more like referral connections? Or
yeah, all the above. They could have been potential clients. They could have been potential partners. They could have been a potential connection where I'm helping connect them with, because I'm an Uber connector. I love adding value, and one of the ways I do that is I see person A over here, and they need help that I know person B has that's in my network, and I say, I'll connect you guys. And that's how I add value. And then I get the credit for that amazing connection if they hit it off, which usually happens.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it costs me nothing. Free to do.
Now, how many people, like, what percentage of people do you think actually responded to those direct messages that you sent? Because I know it's not 100, right?
No, no, no. You mean after the fact? After the
Yeah,
follow?
after you do the follow-up.
Yeah, usually, well, and now because it's on Facebook, a lot of times it's more instantaneous. So you don't have to wait till after the trip like I used to. Now it's in the moment, and then you carry on the conversation if you have a good connection. Right. So it depends on how deep, like any relationship, it all takes time, and it's how much you invest into the relationship. So if I see a really strong so to your question, very few, to be honest. It's like, a little bit like, throwing darts at a dartboard. You never know what's going to hit. Right.
I always thought like 10 to 20% is my usual, like, okay, this is an actual connection.
Yeah. Yeah. But out of that, it's, maybe 5% of those would turn into a client. Right, or a valid connection that you could do business with in some way, shape, or form. Right, or
Yeah,
maybe they become just friends for life. I still have friends who are at my original parties that still come, and we're still friends for life. Like we've been, just connect usually every year at TNC.
Well, and you'd be amazed, just in terms of making those connections and holding on to them, like what it'll lead to. Like, because it's even me here at Digital Marketer, like I actually connected with Richard back in 2018 or something, and there was like, I knew what he did, and oh, he's a digital marketer, and I was doing my agency, and I didn't even do anything with that until I think 3 or 4 years later. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, hey, why don't we
exactly.
work together?
And
So
I've had that happen. And when you become Facebook friends, then you're geographically separated in most cases, but then they get a glimpse into your lives to see what they're posting, and you build a relationship that way, even though you're not talking. They see how you show up in the world. And I have gained clients just out of that, making a connection at an event, and they turn into clients 3 or 4 years later just because we're friends on Facebook and they like how I show up in the world.
oh, that's
So
awesome.
it could be a long lead cycle, but all I'm doing, that's why I love events so much. So people always ask me how I get most of my leads. It's through speaking, it's through coaching, it's through going to events and networking, and I'm dropping and planting seeds all the time. Some
Oh.
seeds will wither and die, other will grow and flourish, and sometimes they're not harvested until 3 or 4 years later.
No, that's a great tip. Well, and I love the interaction piece that you just said, because like Mandy McEwen, when she did her LinkedIn workshop for us, like one of the best tips I liked from that was, hey, if you want to get connected to somebody, don't reach out with them with a LinkedIn message and be like, hey, did you know I sell software?
Yeah.
Instead, if you really want to connect with this person, go through and look at their posts for the last like few weeks, make a few comments, and over not just all at once. Like, don't go through and like every post.
Yeah.
Like blast them with, I really like you, but actually try to connect, actually make meaningful comments on their content, and then a couple weeks later hit them up and be like, hey, I love your stuff, that post about the future of marketing, like that was such a great post, I'd love to connect with you. And so you're providing that value in advance, like you engage with their content, you remember the content, and now you do the outreach, and now that person's gonna be like, oh, I've seen this person before, yeah, let's work together. So I'd say, follow up on when you do the follow up, like the first step might be go connect with them on LinkedIn or Facebook, like some of their stuff in not a creepy way, and then hit them up and be like, okay, here we go. And you can mention TNC in the comments, like, oh, you mentioned this when I spoke to you at TNC, then you're relating it back to where you actually met and connecting the dots.
Speaking of TNC, who's all going? Just show of hands. Who's going to TNC? Okay, well, I know the DM people.
Hey, not all of us. I think we only have like 5 this year.
So here's a ninja networking tip for those going to DNC or any event or conference that you go to. This applies to anything. So like Mark said, go stalk vendors, people that you want to connect with, but go check out the vendor list who have booths there. Okay. And they're there to sell their wares. So how can you add value to them, and vice versa? A lot of times, we're kind of, self-centered, we're selfish, we have limited time, limited resources, limited finances, all these things, right? So we want to put that to highest and best use. So when you go through a vendor hall at any conference, including TNC, they're all eyeing you like meat. That's a potential customer right there. I want you to flip that on its head and eye them like meat, right? And see how can they help me without necessarily having to buy their product, right? Now, the way you can do that is look at the big vendors that have produced a lot of content, okay? Think of something like Active Campaign or some of the bigger software players in there that have lots of free training out there because that'll help them, their users use their platform better, that kind of thing, right? So look at the big leaders in the marketing industry who have content production teams. What is their biggest problem? They always are looking for new content. So if you stock their stuff before you get to a conference, know their stuff, pretty well, or you can comment on it and have an intelligent conversation about their content. Then when you go up to the booth, you can build those relationships with the people at the booth, mention some of the things you've discovered in their content, and then say, hey, by the way, are you looking for any contributors? And then you flip it on its head. And then you get to be, I've actually done internal trainings for active campaign teams just using that strategy.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a huge tip. Well, and I'd say, take that one step further. If you want to connect with that brand, take a selfie at their booth with the people there, then post it on LinkedIn and tag everybody. And then you instantly they'll recognize you because nobody does that for brands. I know because we're a digital marketer and we have huge following and nobody tags us in crap. I'm like, I don't know why you guys.
It's especially powerful if you're a user of their platform, if you're an existing customer. So I love Active Campaign. I'm a big proponent of those. So I'm definitely going to go up to their booth, build those relationships. I had some relationships before with them, but then those people moved on. So I got to rebuild and start over again. But I can name drop the person who I did have that relationship with and keep that ball rolling.
Yeah. And that's a huge tip. If you want to, don't go into it like, what can I get from you?
Of course not.
But it's just like
when I say meat, I'm being facetious. Of
course.
Oh
no, I get it.
They're there for the same reason, right? They paid for sponsorship to get more customers. That's everyone's sponsorship goal there. That's why everyone has a booth.
Well, and everybody, it's funny how many even bigger brands don't think in terms of content. And if you propose that, if you said like, hey, I actually specialize in email marketing, I see you have an email marketing tool, I'd love to do a review for you. And then now they're like, oh crap, I would love to get some reviews. Like, yes, here's the product for free. Like, I'm not saying that everybody will do this,
adding value. It's exactly
like if you have a decent following and you said like, hey, I'm willing to try out your product if I could just get it for some time, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll hook you up.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's a great segue, Mark, because I mentioned earlier that I do TNC a little differently. So one, I do the after party. Two, I started by saying, and I got sidetracked because entrepreneurial ADD and all that. I do TNC a little differently, and because I don't go to most of the sessions, because I host what I call a mastermind mansion. And that's where I invite people that I want to build relationships with, that I'm not that close with. They're more on the peripheral. I invite them to stay at the house with me. We break bread together. We commune. We see each other in our pajamas, that kind of stuff, right? You really go deep with relationships when you're waking up with your morning coffee to someone, right? Or, partying to the wee hours of the morning,
that helps too. Right. Well, and actually, let's talk about the party focus too, because it doesn't sound like, oh, okay, well, it's just marketers love to party and they get to talk to each other. But I do think that the after party and those events after TNC are almost more valuable in terms of networking than the event itself. So how do people get invited to parties, or who has parties? I know you do.
Well, I do. So you kind of, and it's invite only, but I try and curate as best as I can who goes there. I have complete control over that at the Mastermind Mansion. So for example, back to the software example where you're networking with people who, hey, I'll do this for you. And then you get, free access to their platform. I'm actually the friends or acquaintances, Facebook friends, with a guy who I got introduced to. He's the CEO and founder of Segmetrics. Wicked Reports. They're a Segmetrics, Wicked Reports competitor. So they are the best analytical and attribution platform on the planet. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm hosting this thing at TNC. Why don't you come? So he's staying at the mansion with me. The CEO and founder of Segmetrics. Guess who's got a free account to Segmetrics? Just because of that relationship, just because I offered him something of enormous value. I haven't even met the guy yet. We've had a couple Zoom calls, but that's it, right? We haven't met in person. So those are the kinds of relationships I look to build, cultivate, and develop, add massive value to them. And we always hear that old adage, especially in our marketing circles, that all the business happens at the bar. I create the bar.
You own the bar, and then you're
Yes.
then you get to control everything. No, that's
Exactly.
fantastic. So, I mean, for people who can't do, say, a yacht or an after party or, a mansion to invite people to, what's a good way to, offer that value without the money?
Yeah, so one of the ways I mentioned is offer to contribute your content, your time, right? You can offer sweat equity. It doesn't always have to cost money, right? And I largely break even on the mansion. I might make a little just for putting on kind of thing, but I just ask for cost, so it doesn't even have to cost anything. Anyone can do this. Airbnb, you get a whole bunch of people, they all pitch in, and I make it all inclusive. That's food, drink, everything. So I charge a little bit of a premium over and above the cost just to cover that over the Airbnb costs, just to cover all the extras. I bring in, private chefs, massage therapists. We go on excursions and outings, high-end tequila tastings, all the things, right? But I do that and I curate the people who are there so that whoever I invite, because I'm in control of the event, I will curate the people to ensure they're as complementary to each other as possible. So I know this person does this, but they would be a great connection with that people. So I'm still connecting people even in the mastermind mansion, and they remember me for that and thank me for it.
I love that. Well, I think there's some great tips in terms of networking, following up, building meaningful connections. Do we have any questions from the audience? Feel free to unmute yourself, or Bonnie or Michelle will unmute you. Come on,
And
Jay, I know
yesterday
you
we're
got some.
skiing at Whistler.
Well, I don't have a question. I was shivering in sheer panic yesterday because I read Dave's post about the party like a week ago, and I didn't read the whole post. I just saw party invite, and I was like, and Dave's throwing it. So I'm like, I made a comment that said there was no hell yes button. So I settled for going, right? And then the night before last, I actually read the whole description and I was like, shit, costumes? So I've been panicked. Now, thankfully, Michelle put some lists in and then I put in a search that I did, which got some interesting results in the gas lamp quarter. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to
send me that list. I
Amazon
gotta put it in
overnight.
the event page so everyone has
Well,
access
I don't
to it.
have time for Amazon now, Mark. I fly out tomorrow. That's
Okay,
like the
yes,
thing.
you do. Send your costume to the hotel or your
Oh, yeah.
Airbnb.
Yeah, I'm staying at a VRBO, but I don't know where the mail would be because I'm above a restaurant and I'm not sure.
Hey, you
So-
can send it to a digital marketer. We'll be at the
There
Hard
you go.
Rock.
They'll take care of it for you.
Somebody will be wearing that costume then. Yeah,
Well, just put
Yeah,
your
send it
name
to
on it and
Ivan.
say
You'll
delivered to
charge your
digital
part.
market. You're coming Monday, right?
I'll be here. I'm flying tomorrow. I'm in tomorrow, so I'll be there
Oh, okay.
Monday. I'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ivan,
just
I was
ship it
saying
out.
Ivan and I can go costume shopping. But Dave, that was there it is. Thanks, Bonnie. Dave, that was great. I was listening as much as I could, but I have an intern this fall, and she was here and she was getting ready to leave, so I was briefing her on what she's going to do next week. So I was half in and out. So, but as always, your content you just make it just so much fun and always sounds just so normal, like anybody can do this, and I know that sometimes it's just a matter of us just doing it.
Exactly. And to be honest, this is my normal. And people see what I do at DNC. Oh, Dave is, living the lifestyle of the rich and famous in this mastermind mansion. It costs me nothing because my costs are reimbursed from, everyone's pitching in. And I have a blast doing it. And why not do it? Why not have a great time doing it? I live stream the event at the mansion. So my TNC, the way I do TNC differently, it's usually in my bathrobe with Bailey's and my coffee, watching it the live stream. And meanwhile, everyone's rushing down and getting all gussied up and early so they don't miss a session. Dude, I'm chill. I'm relaxed. I'm live streaming. All the things.
I love it. Well, I can't wait to see you, buddy.
Likewise.
All right,
I just want to make sure that it's public on public record that I was also almost held up by the Swedish authorities when they asked me why do I need so much dollars in Sweden, and I told you like a crazy guy invited me and he told me that I have to buy a costume and that's why I need cash because I can't have the checked-in luggage because in Amsterdam there are riots and protests. And like, okay, so I need to buy, and I had to buy whole new luggages. So that's all on you, Dave. So I'm gonna, pay for it.
Yes.
But yeah, I love it. I'm just very eager to meet you guys.
Fantastic.
Just so all TM community members know, like you can always send it to our places if you need a delivery spot. We'll be happy to accommodate you.
And all that being said, if who's coming to TNC and not going to the party, you're all invited, by the way. We're all good. We're all good.
Everybody's
Everyone's
coming.
all hooked up.
Nice. Love it.
All right. Awesome.
Well, it should be great. And yeah, this was fantastic. I think solid tips. Yeah, just so you guys know, like you got to be proactive and don't worry about embarrassing yourself, which I think is always the fear, like, oh, I'm
I
so
do that all the
shy.
time.
It is. It's just this. Nobody cares. Number one, they're meeting so many people that they probably won't remember you unless you make an impact. So if you keep that in mind, like, what's your impact? That'll make a big difference. Whether it's a prop.
And that's part of my impact is I get credit for having their best experience at TNC every year. That's the impact that I get credit for because I'm being proactive and I took action. And to Mark's point, yeah, don't worry about what anyone thinks about you. I have a saying that what anyone thinks about me is none of my business. That's their issue.
I like that. That's confident. And if you look at it to have fun too, meeting people and everybody's interested, that's the awesome thing about digital marketer and just marketing in general is we're all there to learn and help, and we're doing this because we promote to people. That's our jobs. So TNC is an excellent opportunity to do that and also show up to Dave's event, and we'll all be there. I'm coming this year.
Awesome.
Sure.
I love it. I love it. In costume too. Fantastic.
In costume. I already got it. I'm set.
And that's the other thing. Back to your introvert comment earlier, Mark. Costumes are the perfect icebreaker. It allows you to change your identity or be someone you aren't normally. That's why everyone loves Halloween. Halloween is more popular than Christmas these days because of that. Right. So that's why I do the themed events. I change the theme every year to keep it fresh and exciting, and it's new content. Right. So people love that.
I love that. I didn't even think about that, but that is fantastic. It does take the edge off where you're like,
It's
everybody looks like
an
goofballs.
icebreaker.
Yeah.
If someone comes up as an alien because it's a space theme this year,
Great.
right?
I'm putting a link in chat. I did mention before that I was a little nervous by the company called Whips and Furs that was in Gaslamp Quarter, but I did look it up.
About them, actually.
It's a literally. I'm putting the link in. I'm not kidding. I'm seriously. It's a Halloween store right like a couple of blocks from the. Well, I don't know where the party is, but from the from the convention center. So
there you go.
Anyway,
You got
I'm downtown too. The party's going to be in downtown as well.
Okay, good. So that's actually that's actually a legit Halloween place. I didn't realize that. So that's good.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you just go as the Squid Games person.
Yeah. Before you get your costumes, I'm going to review all the stuff that everyone put in the chat in terms of costume shops. I did it every year, and I had such a good relationship with the one costume shop I sent everyone to that they gave us 15% discounts because I drove so much traffic there. So let me see if I can try and arrange something similar with one of these guys.
Oh, that's great. Great idea. Well, I think
building relationships.
Yeah, building relationships and doing that cross promotion. Now they get business, you get to offer a discount. That's why we actually restarted the DM deals on the Academy, was specifically because it was like we could hook everybody up with a good discount, and they're promoting our brand because we're promoting them, and it's all synergistic. So make those happen. You got TNC coming up, do it there.
Exactly. Anyone else have any other questions, comments?
So got a little time.
Ahas, insights? I just want to riff, hang out. We'll do it all again next week and TNC.
Yeah, it should be fun. Well, I'm just thinking of like, man, there's so much stuff to do. The last 3 weeks has been busy.
Yes, it has.
No doubt.
Interesting.
But that's things tend to go in cycles. I mean, TNC is such a massive event, so you got this huge busy period, but then after that, you can exhale and have some downtime after it
for like 5 seconds because it's third, fourth quarter, and all your clients are expecting to have a big Black Friday, and you'll have 3 weeks to put it together. Actually, that's for the course. We're putting up a course next week. We're taking Lauren Petrullo's workshop that she did a few months ago, and we're remaking it into the new course format. That way it's a little easier to consume, and that's coming out next week, and specifically about doing a 10-day pre-holiday promo. So it's exactly how she did it for one of her e-commerce stores, and she lays it all out and explains like, hey, here's how to, within 10 days, starting on day 1 and doing the campaign through day 10, like everything you have to do. So tune in next, I think it's Thursday or Friday, that'll be up on Academy.
Perfect. Love it. Love it.
All right. If there's no more questions, thank you so much, Dave. I think it's been hugely beneficial. Looking forward to seeing you and everybody else next week. It's going to be flying out in like 48 hours.
Right. Exactly. I'm 36, 48.
30, 36, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, great riffing with you guys as always. And those of you at TNC, we'll see you in person live next week. That's fantastic. And we'll do it all again soon.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye,
Thank you.
thanks, everyone.
See you, Jay.
Thanks. See you.